Hello everyone, welcome to darkfaetarot. You are joining me on the end of another cold, wintry day in Brussels. Welcome to new subscribers. Welcome back to those who already know me. So thank you for joining me today. I am indeed doing a review, a very long awaited review of the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle deck. I have been working with this deck for the whole of this autumn, basically since mid-October all the way till it will be the end of the year when I finish working with this deck. And it's part of a larger project that I did this year. And I'm going to be going through the whole deck and everything that I did as part of this review. As usual, I will be making sure that this video has chapters so you can go through to whichever section you'd like to. And to be very clear, this is not a sponsored review or anything like that. I've purchased this deck with my own money. So just as an overall introduction to the project and how I'm doing this, and a disclaimer basically, it's that this is part of, again, as I said, a study. This is my personal perspective on this deck. This is not a definitive video of this deck. I think it's a very popular deck, but this is of course not a definitive video. This is just my personal views and thoughts. This is how I found myself exploring the deck. And finally, I just want to say that I think I'm at the beginning of my journey with this deck. By no means has 2.5 months means I'm going to be putting it away. This is the beginning of a much larger and broader journey. And my overall conclusion on this deck, which I'm going to give you now and then explain as I go through the whole review, is this is a deck that takes you on the creator's journey. And at the end of it, you're at the beginning of your own adventure. And that's how I want to put this whole deck. It's a juxtaposition. So there you go. So first of all, the first part of this, kimkrans, why she did this deck. This deck is copyrighted 2019. There is a pocket edition to be released in April 2024. And of course, the publisher, I'm shifting that a little bit. The publisher is HarperCollins. There you can see their logo. I'm just trying to take this out of the box. It is quite a large, hefty item that I'm trying to do on screen here, so bear with me. Oh, sorry, hold on. Not easy trying to do this on camera, this one specifically. Oh, so you can see it's like a sleeve that you pull off. There you go. So the publisher is HarperCollins. It was released in 2019, and there will be a pocket edition to be released in April 2024. This deck was developed as kimkrans began her postgraduate studies in Jungian themes. As you all are already aware, she is, of course, the creator of the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. This is the pocket edition I have here. And that was produced, as I recall, in 2014. Or it could be that the indie was 2013, 2014, and the mass market is either 2014, 2015, something like this. So there is actually a gap between these two, just so you realize there's about 4 to 5 years of a gap. And that's because kimkrans found herself on her own personal journey. As I read through the guidebook, I realized that part of it was that she herself found herself going through some personal traumatic events and changes within her life. This is all explained in the guidebook. And part of it was also that this interest in Jungian themes. So I'm explaining all this as I open the deck. So here we go. It says, accept all, reject none. And it comes with a very chunky guidebook, which we're going to be looking at in a bit later. And this is the inside. So you get the deck like this. And you get also this beautiful imprint. The quality and the production of this deck is just amazing. It really is fantastic. So this is the actual deck. It comes with in this round circular case that you're probably aware of, and you just pull it off like that. Now, this was produced after some time, and I understand also that in the meantime, kimkrans moved to the west coast of the US. So the author, the creator of the deck, the artist, is themselves going through on a huge personal journey and exploration, really getting out of their own comfort zone, but also working through some very difficult, challenging times in their own lives. And part of it was that they started to see archetypal structures as their life was changing. They started to see archetypal structures within their life, within their own environment, and also new cultures that kimkrans was exploring. So I hope that gives you a bit of a backdrop on how this deck came about. Now, the copy that I'm going to show you here, this is all in order. That's the inside. I have put it back in order for the purpose of this video. So let's quickly look at the guidebook before we slip through, because there's some things I want to mention about the deck structure in the guidebook, and then we're going to come back and do a reading later. Let me just shift it to the side for a second. Kimkrans speaks about these images as being imaginal. That's the word that was used in this guidebook. And you'll see here that there's a lot of text in how this journey is borne out. But she calls it the Awakening the Archetypes. She calls it the imaginal because it means poetry, it means images, it means metaphors, it means imagination. We're looking at a territory, she calls it their territory, which is seen as more palatable than saying imagery, because imagery can apply, it's not real. And I think for Kimkrans, she really wants to put in the juxtaposition that these archetypes do exist, these places, these themes, these topics, these encounters, these beings do exist within our society and our cultures. Their qualities, their patterns, they're universal, they're timeless, they're infinite. There's light and dark, there's use of the imagination, and they're undefinable. These are just some of the terms that she's used in creation of this deck. And the intention is that there is a challenge for us to grow as we work through the deck. There's about imagination, multiplicity, the collective. So you can see as I'm flicking through, this is quite an extensive guidebook. I would seriously say that once you get the deck, if you choose to purchase it, is to actually really just sit and read the guidebook initially, because the depth is so amazing. Especially, and I would say this very, very clearly, as a creator myself, like I do actually do writings. As a creator for my own personal writings, but also fictional writings and exploratory writings, that's how I like to call them. This kind of a deck is really a great jumping off point, not just the cards, but how the deck is born and the thinking of the creator. It's a lot of food for thought. So I would really say that this deck is really a fundamental deck. If you're someone that wants to look at not just archetypes, but how a creator can go about finding their own archetypes. And I'm going to go return to this a bit later, but I wanted to talk about it because the guidebook is a really, really well-structured guidebook in that sense, including the introduction. There, of course, as we have with decks, there's also some spreads. I think I can flick through to a few very quickly. Can I find them? Sorry. Now that I'm looking for them, I bet you I can't find it using the cards. Here it is. So we have spreads, we have prompts, we have suggestions of how you can actually lay them out, and you know, the hero's journey. So that's something that I also think is very, very well done. And as I go further into the guidebook, we're going to look that each card has an elemental aspect, it has glyphs, it has definitions, it has storytelling, and then it has kind of like a light, a dark, and where to also research further. So we're going to look at that as well, but I'm spending a few minutes on just the guidebook overall, because I think that it just shows you the value for money for this. Okay. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, this deck is retailing around the 30 to 35 euro mark. Okay, so I'm going to flick through these images as I talk about my approach to them. And somewhere here, I will be linking that I actually, when I work with this deck, because I was doing it as part of the Drop M78 challenge, I actually have allocated all the cards to each of the keys of the tarot. So because this is a 78 card deck, I actually pre-allocated a lot of these cards. And so even though they're not actually tarot keys, I've given them that, and it's not written on here, but I'm doing a separate video, which I will link somewhere, where I will be walking through all the keys of the tarot and where I've allocated each of these cards. So hopefully I'm making sense to say that. I'm saying it in several ways, but like I mentioned before, that was part of my work with this. And so let's go through the images. And just as I'll flick through as I talk about it, the artwork is evocative. Roman numerals have been used to actually allocate to each of the cards. And there is a title at the bottom. The artwork is traditional kimkrans style of black and white with some color, pops of color, But I do believe here that in certain cases, kimkrans, and I don't know how she's done the wild unknown, but in this one, it feels as if there's been a lot of watercolor work done and then cut out and then blended with collaging of black and white. We have traditional themes here of, you know, the usual styles of either you've got this kind of like fleckled imagery, we have lines, we have this very architectural design here where we see it with the mentor, you know, this card of being a mentor, the owl's whole frame and their wingspan is being laid out. I mean, owls apparently have huge wingspans. It's quite scary when you actually hear how big that is, and the owl itself is actually quite small. But yeah, I mean, here's the poet. Looks like a globe that they're holding, or some kind of like, you know, very fluorescent sphere. And then of course the head becomes these crow, I don't know what it is, some kind of birds, basically crows. So, you know, singing and this imagery. So we have such beautiful blendings with the flora and the fauna of the wild, and yet, you know, the human is within all of this as well. And here we have the maiden. So there's a very much a play here of the wildlife, but also with our human vulnerabilities, our sense of emotions, our sense of self, how we see ourselves. If you look here at the warrior, I mean, that is such a powerful, evocative card. I just found it really haunting, to be quite honest. And yet you have this rainbow coming out from behind. So the warrior has this touch of, for me, going beyond death and into that liminal space, which is beautiful. It's full of color. And I just think that's stunning, you know, how my head is responding to these images. It's just amazing. And so, as I mentioned in this video, at the beginning of this video, this collage art is spectacular in being able to just take a section or a card and just say to yourself, well, what am I really seeing here? Like, when I looked at here initially, of course, I see the crow and the crone or the raven, but then of course later on I'm seeing this medallion that is holding on to, and then the hand has this, like, I don't know, it's turning into some kind of a tree, or is it a birch, or is it fur? It's strange. It's almost like the hand is turning into the crow. Is that real? I don't know. And then you have here again this collage art where watercolor was done, and I'm thinking these are flowers, and then we have a black and white, and then again another pop of color here with the hues. It just is an artist's dream when I look at these cards. And I have to say that until I saw this kind of artwork with kimkrans in this deck, I didn't appreciate it. I think that I didn't really realize what's going on here until I started to see all these dots. And this is the kind of artwork that when I was 15 would really, well, it still appeals to me now, but when I was 15, 16, that was the kind of thing that really I loved. Because, you know, today, you know, when I was younger, a lot of the artwork was, I'm sorry to say it, but I love the Renaissance paintings and so forth, of course. But sometimes I want to see art that pushes me out of comfort zones. And this is the stuff that will do it. So, you know, here we have the shaman, we have this glittering, I don't know, stone, is a diamond. And then we have these skulls. So these are beings that have passed on in life. And then, of course, the serpent waving its way through. And it's almost as if this hand is conducting the magic to bring everything to life. That's what I'm seeing in the greater cosmos. So, you know, I'm just here now at card number 17, and I've just blathered on because it just is a stunning deck in that sense. And for me, you know, I could pull something like the Siren and just think that week or the next few weeks, I'd love to look at the Siren aspects of that merman energy, that oceanic energy, the call of the Siren, how also sometimes they're depicted incorrectly, their relationship with other mythological beings. I just think that's a great jumping off point again. So, you know, this deck is a foraging style, but it's foraging of the wild unknown, but it's also foraging of my mind. It's foraging of where I'm going into this. It's about how different pilgrims, you know, there is the traditional, what we have in Hinduism, the pilgrim, but I also know that we have so much of the pilgrim's journey within the Western world. So this again brings us to what is my idea of the pilgrim's journey. Here we have the mystic, and you know, I always see the butterfly, but today I'm caught, or the moth, but today I'm caught by this very large, I don't know, eyeball at the top. I mean, again, just, it's strange, but it's kind of like layer upon layer of imagery that as a creative, I would really just love to have in my toolbox. So this is one of those decks that I would really encourage for that. It's also, of course, an oracle. So here, if we have the destroyer, this is going to give me a huge amount of work jumping off point, to work with, a huge amount of cues. I see here the idea of something that, of course, can be a destroyer, but a destruction also leads to creation, for example, volcanoes and so forth. A destroyer also has to do a clean sweep of the area. That is part of the idea of destruction. And so it's quite a daunting, large task. And of course, there is this aggression here that's being shown. But then you have these binary stars. And I just think that's beautiful. I can just really, you know, binary stars eventually do collapse in on each other. That is part of their life cycle, that they will do that. So they actually self-destroy in the end. And I just think that's, again, so, you know, there's so many things that light up in my mind when I see that. So I think that this deck is amazing for that. The other part of this deck that I want to talk about is, of course, it is in sections. So the sections that we're looking at, you're thinking, okay, now she mentions it. The sections that we're looking at here is the selves. So these are kind of like sections that we would see in life. Like this would be the jester, the fool, the comic. This would be the unseen, the person perhaps that blends into the crowd, different ideas of that. Of course, the shadow of ourselves, the shadow self, the self itself that shines through bright, that pearl energy and the prisma colors coming off there. But I'm going to go ahead a little bit. Here we have cave, and then we have places. Where does it start? Yes, so the heart is one of the places. I mean, again, look at that. We have this river or a lake, and then it's surrounded by this beautiful wild flowering and flora that's dark. It looks a little bit like it's dying, or it's like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of wreaths. It reminds me of the celebration of something and wreaths. So again, and we have here, this time we have twinning galaxies in the middle. Isn't that gorgeous? So here we have the cave, and you know, you could look at this, or anyone could look at this, right, and go the river, and it could bring you into the river that we would see in a forest, the river leading out towards the oceans and the seas. Here we have, of course, the reflection of a horse, but maybe it sparks within you the reflections you've seen a river, the fact that, you know, sometimes rivers become these tiny streams. I was in Ireland once, like the first time I was in Ireland, and I was following this river, and then I said to my friend, what happened to it? And she goes, there it is. And I go, what? And she goes, it's the stream. And I was like, what? And she goes, don't worry. And then she showed me a few, I don't know, about another 3 hills ahead. She pointed out, she goes, it turns into a massive river back there again. I was like, wow. So, you know, this is why I believe that, you know, these cards just evoke so many stories, right, from us, what we think of the ocean. You know, I remember I have a huge fear personally of oceans, and I remember after years returning to Dubai. So I grew up partially in Dubai, by the way, as well, and between Dubai and Sharjah. And I returned to Dubai after many years, and I fell asleep when I was in the hotel, and it was the sound of the ocean. That's the only thing you could hear as I fell asleep. I could just hear the ocean crashing against the, you know, the, not crashing actually, but it was coming in and out, is a tide coming in and out, and it was just beautiful. And I fell into this deep sleep. I remember that sleep. It was just like so stunning to be able to just breathe that ocean energy. And of course, you know, we have there, that's the Gulf basically for us. So you know, for me to see the Arabian Ocean, the Arabian Sea, actually, sorry, it's just wonderful. You know, it was really a part of my inner blood came alive a little bit at that moment. So it's interesting. Here's, of course, the forest. And in honor of this card, of course, we have this backdrop. But yeah, this is the forest energy. So I'm blabbing on and on, but I just wanted to talk to you about how this deck is just so good at taking us somewhere into it. So we have the places, the desert, the bridge, and so forth. The temple, you know, the outer temple, the inner temple. You can decide where are you on this time when you look at this. The dead end. And so we have all of this, the empty room. But then we go into, and there's the threshold. That's the last place. But then we go into, where is it now? Are we there now? No, the box, the storm. Wow, look at that card. The underworld. So lots in the places, the fault line. This was a fantastic card. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, these have all been allocated as 78 keys. So again, I'm going to keep linking that video. You can go and check that out so that you can also, if you wanted to, they're just my suggestions. I do know other people have also linked them to their 78 keys, so tarot keys. So, you know, there's lots of ideas out there if you wanted to do that. But here come the tools. So the very first one is the flame. And I thought this was interesting. The tear. Wow. The riddle. I mean, the vow. So these are tools that we have in life. The vision. Okay. Gem. And again, you know, the artistry is gorgeous. I mean, this has been hand drawn. And I really just appreciate the work that's been done on this. The ring. Okay, and you can see here so many of the tools. Look at that, the kiss. So this is kimkrans. You get an insight into how kimkrans sees these tools and what she regards as tools. And what I said right at the beginning of this video was this little deck will also, I mean, I kid you not, get a notepad and a pen, because as we work through this, I found myself thinking, but I think there's more tools. And I started to note, where would this be? What happened to this tool? And like, I would like to see a card called the toolbox. And it sounds really strange, but I always believe that a toolbox is a tool as well as other tools, or a step. You know, sometimes a step is a tool. So it was interesting. A step is also a place. It's interesting, right? So or a hook. A hook is not in here, but that for me is a tool. But as I did this, I got to that and I realized that was when I started to think, look at that, the venom. I would never have thought of that, but kimkrans did. I thought it was amazing, amazing card there. But the reason why I wanted to say that was because about writing your own, if you come across something and you don't find the tool in there, is because this deck is because it's someone's personal journey. I realized, wait, this is an invitation for me to make my own, basically. I am invited, well, you know, if you don't see your tool in there, make your own deck then. And that I thought was just so cool. It was like, it's so inspiring. The prayer, here's the seed, and now I'm going to go quickly further. And so the last set of cards that we have is called initiations, and I thought that was interesting too. So yes, there are. So eras. So I believe these are just like milestones in our life where we come to them and we realize, okay, you know, this is a point where my being is changing. You know, when we find that love, whether it's a romantic love or whether it's a family love or a friendship love, that joy of connection. So agape, of course, working away and that love and devotion of our work. Thanatos, of course, death, something very, very poignant. Apocalypsis. Look at the art, stunning. Gnosis. Here's Kairos. Yeah. That holy love. Or universal love. That's how we can also put it. Universal love, Kairos. The Greek. Aletheia. This is all Greek. And Anima Mundi. So, Yeah, beautiful, right? So you have now an idea of this deck. So we've gone through all of the cards. So let's return now to the guidebook. And I just want to make sure I've covered everything. So, yeah, I've just spoken about it, but the fact that we have this playground for developing our own deck as well. So now let me talk about the actual guidebook, and let's do a sample reading, which I traditionally do. So I'm wondering if I should do a sample of every, but I can't if we'll be here for too long. So I'm just going to randomly open it and let's see what we get here, right at the middle, the fault line. Okay, so that's what we're going to be reading. And I like that because this is something that we just don't see that much, right? Something like this, and that's a place. So Roman numerals here, so I'm believing that will be 49. Hopefully I'm right, it's 49. What kimkrans does do is she gives us an extensive contents. So 49 is the fault line, that's 161 in the guidebook. And I'm going to read out what it says. And we're going to go through this reading completely. Sorry, hold on. Bear with me while I get to it. There we are. So this is the fault line, and I'm going to read it out. And I've just put the card there again so you really get to see it. Yeah, because you get a full size picture of the card as well. So the fault line, and here keywords: the fissure, the crack, the weak link. Imagine walking across a frozen lake that begins to crack before your eyes. No matter how optimistic and brave you might be, panic ensues. You become fearful and tense and long for stable ground. Such is the energy of the fault line. It is the energy of walking on eggshells, of precarious dynamics, of sensing what is ready to break open into chaos. It's likely this cracking open is overdue as fault lines develop slowly and naturally from underlying elemental pressures. This card comes at a potent warning not to deny the shakiness that's afoot. It's much better to prepare yourself for change than to walk along the fault line pretending all is well. There is no easy fix for the situation at hand. It will require a foundational shift that alters the current dynamics from the ground up. So very interesting here. And we have a little glyph here. We have here again more symbols. So you've got a lot to work with. Now I'm going to give you here what it says. It says, it is possible that something a loved one said caused a crack in your relationship that has never been mended. Revisit it. The time to heal is nigh. And then, forgive me, I just need to put this down here for a second. It says on the other side, hopefully I can get this in shot, it says, in Japanese kintsugi pottery, gold is used to mend cracks. Breaks are thought of as precious rather than something to be hidden. That's beautiful. And then at the bottom it says, when light, redefining reality, breaking open. When dark, precariousness, pretending delusions. Go deeper. Dance to Everything is Broken by Bob Dylan. So she even gives us an actual activity to do. And that for me is a real creator because they want us to be energized, or they want us to allow the energy to flow through us and work with it. And, I think that's very, very well thought through. So, yes. So let me now go on to, let me just make sure I cover everything. So I'm going to now do some pairings. If you're with me, that's great. But I'm going to do some pairings and then I'll do my conclusions, and hopefully you're still enjoying this. So the pairings are going to be, now there's quite a bit here. So first of all, let's start off with, if you just want to use a traditional Rider-Waite deck, I thought that would be a good way to start. You don't have to go and break the budget or something like that, break the bank. And let's just see how they look. I've just got a very traditional RWS. You can use whatever you have. And I think this can be so good for a reading. If you just wanted to do, even if you wanted to do, wow, I want to do some journaling. I've got Starborn, so basically something that is being blessed as it's being born, and I've got 3 people working together, and the themes of architecture and creating something in collaboration and being a keystone. So you've just got so much here. Let me go forward a little bit more. So this deck is in order. Six of Pentacles and the Mentor. Perhaps we're looking at perhaps an abusive energy. Who knows? The Siren and the Page of Pentacles. Two very different energies there. Something to work with. And here we have the Destroyer and the Queen of Pentacles. So she's like the queen of creation, basically, of materialization. And here's the Destroyer. Wow. So, you know, you've got a lot there to work with. I think that several of the RWS cards with this card could give you a really, with this deck could give you a really interesting reading. And again, you know, you don't need to go out and buy anything new if you just want to use it with the RWS. And here's the Mountain. Here's Five of Wands. So if they argue, they're not going anywhere. So yes, so that's with the traditional Rider-Waite Smith. Let me show you now with another deck that this is one of the first ones I grabbed, apart from the RWS, because I thought it would be interesting given its aesthetics, and that is Tarot of the Abyss by Anaturian. So this is a US Games deck, and again, mass market. Now this isn't in order, so it's going to be quite interesting. So let's go ahead here. Oh, the Ocean and Two of Cups. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And if you wanted to, you could even color in some of this Anaturian's work if you felt like it. The Magician and Dead End. I think they look powerful together. This witchy energy with this deck. The Castle and Ten of Wands. And that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Because we build these castles, but look at the work it takes. The Womb and Eight of Swords, sorry. Oh, becoming a victim, and here's the wound energy, the womb energy saying, let go perhaps, you know, go with the flow, allow, soften. The Bardo, which is a place that we need to go to, and the Knight of Pentacles. And that really is about this place, that this liminal space is the Bardo. Wow, okay. The Gem and Ace of Cups. So I'll stop there with this pairing, but you can see that that goes so beautifully together. I really love that. That was magic with the Tarot of the Abyss by Anaturian. So another mass market deck that I quickly picked up. I'll quickly show you before I forget, because I didn't want to forget this one. I'm just going to quickly show you it with also, of course, with the Wild Unknown, because then you know that for sure these beautifully, of course, will always go together because they are from the same creator. Ace of Pentacles this is the pocket version, but of course you can use the standard as well. Here we have the Eight of Cups with the Kiss. So, you know, of course, these would go beautifully together as well. No doubt about that. Okay, so that's with the Wild Unknown. But a deck that I had in mind, I have a couple more to show you, is whilst we're still on the forest energy, let me show you with the Crow Tarot. Of course, any kind of MJ Cullinan decks, but I wanted to stick to Crow energy because we are back to then Mother Maiden Crone, not Mother Maiden Crone, sorry, but we're back to Hecate and that forest vibe. Okay, so this is not in order, which is good. So this is 2 of Wands. I think they look, I think there's something about them. Yes. I think that there is something where, at least aesthetically, I've got something to play with. Here we again have the 5 of Wands, and here we have the Poet. The Warrior and 2 of Pentacles. Yeah, I wouldn't mind working with these two together, actually. I think that they do kind of go. Here's with the Judge, and here's 8 of Wands. I mean, that's a communication for sure. The Siren, and here we have 4 of Wands. Maybe we're falling into some kind of an illusion here. The Creator with the King of Cups. So yeah, I think that these two also, because of that Hecate forest energy, that energy of the Morrigan, definitely I would put these two together. Hold on, I just dropped a card. There we go. Okay, So that was the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullinan. I think it's Cullinan. US Games deck. I have the mass market here. And finally, I wanted to show one deck which I've like pulled up randomly. Let's take a look. I've never really shown it on the channel, but I'm going to try it. So even I don't know if this is going to work, right? This is like me experimenting. This is one of the versions of the Stunning Tarot by Yonasa Yaps, I think it is. Yeah. Okay, let's try it with the Stunning Tarot. Okay, this is tiny, so you might want to, if you have the bigger version, it might be better. But let's see. The Wand and the King of Cups. Interesting. Okay, let's go forward a bit more. Here we have the Ocean again and the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. The Temple, and this is 9 of Pentacles, I think. Interesting. These energies. Warrior of Coins and the Village. Okay, so definitely if you've got these two decks, again, I think they would go superbly together. The Storm, and we have the 10 of Wands. Yeah, I really think so. And here we have 2 of Cups in the Bardo. So again, that liminal space here, this time with Bardo. The Tear, and here we have the 2 of, I think this is the 2 of Wands in this deck. I think it is. Yeah. The Vow and the Emperor. Wow, that is interesting energy. Okay, so that was with the Stunning Tarot. And my one is not in order, so it doesn't really matter how I put them together. Let's see what we get with this 5 of, I think it's 5 of, is that 5 of Cups? I don't know. The Vision. Interesting, huh? When we put them together. Okay. So that was with the Stunning Tarot. And now I'm going to show you some pairings. If you're still with me, 36 minutes in, I'm going to show you some pairings with some oracles. So stick around. Let's go for it. Okay, so we have 2 mass markets and we have 2 indies. The very first mass market, and let me just reset this again here a little bit. So, okay, let's start here. Is the Talisman Oracle US Games deck, and this is by Nora Paskaleva. Okay, this is a very new deck to my collection. I haven't really worked with it, so even I'm just winging it and seeing what we get. So here we have some very, very dark energy here. Magical power. Wow. Straight away, mindfulness and the King. Wow, this would be a very, very clear reading, I think. The Crone and Navigation. Okay, I'm not going to go into the guidebook or anything like that, but the Shaman and Rebirth. I think with about 3 cards I've just pulled here randomly. Pilgrim and Success. I think this is like, if you want to do a reading for someone or for yourself, Willpower and the Sustainer, this is just so easy. Easy win. The Unseen and Healing Energy. Okay, I'm going to stop there. This is a US Games deck. I don't know how much it is right now. I think I bought it for like 20 euros, but I think it's gone up in price. But yeah, oh, I've just put them backwards. Hold on a second. There we go. But I definitely think that, you know, if you want something simple like that, that would be a stunning set to work with. And then another mass market deck. Let's go forward one more here. Let's call it the Shadow. Seasons of the Witch. Yule, Talisman Oracle I brought out today because I like the fact that this is more wintry, black and white. I just like the coloring more here. Oh, hold on a second. Rooted and the Self. The One and Grief. Ooh. The Cave and Elements. Oh, wow. Okay. The Mountain and Intuition. Oh, I like this because the readings are very, very clear here. The Desert and Seduction. The Bridge and Altar. Okay, maybe not all of them, but I gave it a try, and I think that this might go with some others, some other Seasons of the Witch too. I don't have all of the Seasons of the Witch, so maybe try it with another one another time. And so now there's two indie oracles I'd like to try with this deck, and I've really not worked with either of these oracles that much, so it's new to me. This is the box, because this is a box I've made up. It actually didn't come with a box, it came in a organza bag. I think it's called Soul Cards. It's by a creator in Canada. I will leave the full name below, but I need to check it. A creator in Canada, and I bought it from Etsy, and I love these cards. And because they have, again, this energy of the forest, I wanted to try them. The Temple. Now these, the keywords are in the booklet, they're not on here, so I would have to work more intuitively with this. I do have the booklet, but I like it. I do like it, actually. Here's the village, and here it looks like something that's, yeah, I mean, you know, flight basically. The castle, messages, something intuitive, and messages flying towards something. Oh, isn't that beautiful? The womb and this. So yeah, I don't know if they do the underworld, and yeah, I need to look at what the keywords would be for this, but there's something there, at least for me aesthetically. So I just thought I'd try them. So that's the soul cards. And finally, I do think it's going to work very, very well with this other deck that I bought some time ago, but I want to try it with this. And let's go to a new, let's go to the card. Let's open it here. And it's the Astrology cards, The Living Wheel by Patrick. The Living Wheel is, I'm sorry, his name's gone from my head, and he's also a tattoo. I'm so sorry. Patrick Fogarty. I thought it was Patrick Fogarty, but I was like, check before you go further. I just thought, I want to just try these because they're so simple. Yes. Aquarius. Sagittarius. Oh, it's, oh, oops. Running away there. No, don't run away. Oh, Leo and the Sustainer. Oh, yeah. For readings, this would be very cool. The Comic and Taurus. Yes. Let me try one more. If you still want to hang out, there's one more. This is a very long video, but I knew it was going to be because obviously it's such a big review. I was thinking of one more deck, but I said no, you're showing too many. And then I realized as I pull these out, no, I can't just sit here like a lemon and not try it. So let's just do it. The last one. Let's try it with Starcodes Oracle as well, which is another astrology deck. I don't really use astrology decks because honestly, I just actually read the chart. So I don't really use these kind of cards and stuff, but I think they're pretty and they make great placements if I need to do a reading and then I need to say to somebody, this is your first house. I can at least get a card out or something. Anyway, so let's try it. The Arrival, Resources, and the Self. That's interesting. Even though the imagery is so different, I think the messages are working. The Cave and Midheaven. Wow. So these are two very, very different spheres to be in. The Temple and the 8th house. Of course, transformation, death, resurrection. We're at the Temple. Okay. The Empty Room and the 4th house. I think we've got something here with these cards. Defined and Strength, and with the Womb. Yeah, I do, because you can see here the colors as well. And the Underworld and Pluto. Okay, I'm going to stop on this because that is a sweet spot to be in. That's like marriage made in heaven. I mean, all right, okay. So anyway, Hades with Hades. What better way to end? So these were the pairings. So I'm going to now end this video by saying thank you so much for joining me on this very extensive review, but I have spent 2.5 months with this deck. Here are the key points of how I think you could work with this deck. It's a journey of the archetypes. It's an opportunity for someone to make their own archetypal decks, or at least archetypal keywords. It's a jumping point for also storytelling, character creation, but also exploring avenues in your mind in terms of creative journaling, creative writing, poetry, and so forth. It also is just expansive in terms of learning different cultures, different ways of seeing the archetypes. And also, of course, marrying it with keys was fun for me. Again, a video that I will be linking so that you can go off and do the same if you wanted to, or at least see what I did. So these are just so many things you can do with one deck, and I'm sure there's more that I've missed. But I definitely would encourage you to try out kimkrans's Archetypes Oracle, and I'm sure I'll be doing some more work with her other oracles as well. But until then, thank you again for joining me on this very, very long review, which I really enjoyed doing. And I wish you all a wonderful solstice period, wherever you are, Yule, Christmas, or even if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and celebrating or not doing anything. I just hope you're having a wonderful holiday if you are having some time off and enjoying this time. Take care, and I will see you all soon.